It was a cold morning in Winterfell. Snow covered the ground, and the air felt sharp like a blade. Jon Snow stood in the courtyard, watching his younger brothers train with swords. He didn't feel like he belonged. He never did. People always reminded him that he was just the bastard of Eddard Stark. That morning, he had made up his mind. He was going to join the Night's Watch. It was the only place he thought he could go, where no one would care who his mother was, where he could start over. But that day, King Robert Baratheon arrived at Winterfell. Robert was loud, drunk, and full of old memories. He had come with his queen, Cersei, and his children, including the spoiled boy Joffrey. Jon didn't care for them. But Robert was different. He used to be close with Jon's father, Ned Stark. They were like brothers once. That night, while the others drank in the great hall, Jon stayed outside with his direwolf, Ghost. He didn't want to be part of the feast. He wasn't welcome at the high table anyway. But to his surprise, King Robert came out looking for fresh air, or maybe more wine. He saw Jon sitting alone and came over, holding a jug in one hand and wiping his mouth with the other. "You're the bastard, aren't you?" Robert asked, not unkindly. Jon stood up quickly. "Yes, Your Grace." Robert stared at him for a moment. "You look like him," he said. "Like who?" Jon asked. "Your father." Robert paused. "No, not Ned. I mean him. Rhaegar." Jon blinked. He didn't understand. Why would the king say that? Robert shook his head like he had said too much. Then he chuckled. "Bah, never mind that. Listen, boy, what's your plan? Going to the wall like a good little soldier?" Jon hesitated but nodded. "Yes, Your Grace. There's nothing for me here." Robert looked at him sharply. "You're a fool if you think that's your only path." Jon felt something strange then. Was the king actually interested in his life? "You have fire in you," Robert said. "I can see it. You don't belong in the cold. You're no crow. But I'm a bastard. The wall is where I belong." Robert's eyes narrowed. He leaned closer. "You're more than that, and you know it. Tell me, Jon Snow, what if I gave you another path?" Jon didn't understand. "What do you mean?" "I'll take you with me," Robert said simply. "To King's Landing. I'll make you my squire. Serve in the Red Keep. Learn how things are really done." Jon stared, speechless. Robert smiled. "You think wearing black and freezing your balls off at the wall is a future? No, lad. You're smart, strong, and something tells me there's more to you than meets the eye." That night, Jon couldn't sleep. He kept hearing Robert's words again and again. Another path, a new life, away from the snow and shadows. "In the morning," he told Ned. At first, his father was silent. Then he looked at Jon with something deep in his eyes. Was it regret? "If you go with Robert," Ned said, "your life will change forever. You'll see things you're not ready for. But maybe it's time you knew the truth." Jon frowned. "Truth?" Ned didn't answer. He just placed a hand on Jon's shoulder and said, "You are not just a Snow, and Robert knows more than he lets on." So instead of riding north with Uncle Benjen, Jon Snow rode south to King's Landing, and the Game of Thrones changed forever. The journey to King's Landing took weeks. Jon rode beside the royal caravan, surrounded by golden armor, red banners, and men who didn't smile. The Queen's guards, the Lannisters, watched him with cold eyes. He could feel it. He didn't belong. But King Robert treated him differently. Every evening, Robert would call him to sit near his fire, talk about war, women, and the old days when he and Ned were boys. Jon mostly listened. He was still unsure why the king had brought him. What did he really want? One night, Robert handed him a cup of strong wine. Jon took a sip and coughed. "You'll get used to it," Robert laughed. "You've got the blood for it." Jon wiped his mouth. What blood? Robert looked into the fire. For a moment, his smile vanished. You don't know, do you? Jon frowned. Know what? Robert didn't answer. He just said, Ask Ned. It's his secret, not mine. From that moment, Jon couldn't stop thinking. Something felt wrong. Why would the king look at him like he was more than just a Stark's bastard? When they reached King's Landing, the city overwhelmed him. The walls were huge, the streets full of noise and smells, and the Red Keep, the castle, was like something out of a dream or a nightmare. Queen Cersei met them at the gates. Her golden hair shone like fire in the sunlight, but her eyes were ice. When she looked at Jon, her jaw tightened. This is him? She asked Robert in a low voice. He's with me, Robert said simply, brushing past her. Cersei turned to Jon. You don't belong here. Remember that. Jon said nothing. He didn't need to. Her hatred was clear. But why? He hadn't done anything. Inside the Red Keep, Jon was given a small room, far from the royal chambers. It wasn't grand, but it was better than a cold cell at Castle Black. He began training with the young squires and knights, including Joffrey. The prince hated him from day one. You're just a bastard with a wolf's name, Joffrey sneered. You think the king likes you? He'll forget you soon enough. Jon didn't reply. He had been insulted his whole life. But when Joffrey shoved him during sword practice, Jon struck back hard. The fight was fast and brutal. Jon knocked Joffrey to the ground, blood dripping from the prince's lip. Everyone froze. Joffrey screamed, He attacked me! He's a traitor! But Sir Barristan Selmy, one of the king's oldest knights, had seen everything. He defended himself, Your Grace, Barristan told Robert later. Robert just laughed. Maybe now the boy will learn not to run his mouth. That only made Cersei angrier. She stormed into Robert's chambers that night. He's dangerous, a Stark, and worse, a bastard. You should have left him in the snow. Robert didn't care. He's got more honor than your golden boy ever will. Cersei's eyes narrowed. What happens when he finds out the truth? Robert didn't answer. Later that week, Jon was walking through the castle gardens when someone whispered his name. Jon Snow. He turned and saw Varys, the spider, the king's master of whispers. A pale man with no hair, wearing robes that made no sound when he moved. I know who you are, Varys said softly. Jon stepped back. Everyone knows. I'm the bastard of Winterfell. Varys smiled. That's what they want you to believe, but some bastards have royal blood, and some princes wear rags. Jon's heart raced. What do you know? More than you do. But be careful, Jon Snow. This place feeds on secrets, and yours is the juiciest of them all. Jon tried to ask more, but Varys disappeared like smoke. That night, Jon went to the Godswood, a quiet place in the castle, to think. He stared at the old tree with red leaves and white bark, whispering the only prayer he knew. Then, footsteps. Lord Ned Stark had arrived in King's Landing the day before, and now he stood behind Jon. I know you have questions, Ned said quietly. Jon turned. Who am I, really? Ned looked tired. Broken, even. But he finally spoke the words Jon had waited his whole life to hear. You are not my son, Ned said. Jon's knees felt weak. Your mother was, Lyanna, my sister. Jon stared. That means your father was Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. Jon's whole world shattered. You are not Jon Snow, Ned said. Your name was supposed to be Aegon. In that moment, Jon's heart stopped. He wasn't a bastard. He wasn't a Stark. He was the last dragon. And now he lived in a lion's den. Jon sat alone in the Godswood, his back against the old heart tree. The night air was cool, but his body burned with confusion, shock, and a fear he didn't know how to control. Aegon Targaryen. That was the name Ned had given him. "I kept the truth to protect you," Ned had said. "Robert would have killed you if he knew." But now Robert did know something. Maybe not everything, but enough to look at Jon with a strange mix of guilt and memory. And Cersei, she had already sensed there was more to Jon than he claimed. Jon didn't sleep that night. He couldn't. The next morning the Red Keep was buzzing. Whispers filled the halls like rats in the walls. Jon heard 2 guards near the training yard. "Queen's upset again. Says the king's hiding something from her. Probably that boy. The northern one. They say he beat Prince Joffrey. Wouldn't be surprised if the queen has him thrown in the dungeons." Jon kept walking, head down, but his blood boiled. Everything was twisted in this place. Even the truth could get you killed. Later, he was summoned to the small council chamber, a room he had never been allowed inside. He stepped in carefully. Inside sat Robert, looking tired and drunk already. Next to him were Lord Varys, Petyr Baelish, Grand Maester Pycelle, and Sir Barristan Selmy. Ned stood in the corner, arms crossed. But Jon felt Cersei's eyes before he saw her. She sat beside the king, hands folded like a queen, but eyes sharp like a vulture. "Boy," Robert said, "come closer." Jon stepped forward. Everyone was quiet. The king poured himself more wine. "There's talk, a lot of it. You've made an impression." "I didn't mean to," Jon said carefully. "But you did," Cersei cut in. "You've challenged the prince. You walk these halls like you're someone important." "I only train and serve, your grace." "Then why do you hide who you are?" she asked coldly. Jon froze. "I don't." "Enough," Robert snapped. He looked at Jon, then at Ned. "He should know the truth. If I die tomorrow, what then? She'll have his head before the ravens can fly." Ned's jaw tightened. He stepped forward. "He knows. I told him." The room went silent again. Jon took a breath. "I'm not Jon Snow. I'm Aegon Targaryen." Cersei stood up so fast, her chair nearly tipped. "A Targaryen," she spat. "In this castle? Are you mad?" "Sit down, woman," Robert growled. "Rhaegar's spawn. Under our roof. He's a threat. To your throne. To my children." "He's a boy," Robert said. "A quiet one, at that." "He has a claim to the throne stronger than any of your bastards," Cersei hissed. Jon stepped back. "I don't want a throne." "You think that matters?" she snapped. "The people won't care what you want. They'll follow the dragon's blood." Jon looked at Robert. "You brought me here. Why?" Robert stared into his wine, then finally looked up. "Because I owed it to Lyanna. Because maybe if I'd listened back then, none of this would have happened." "You loved her," Jon said softly. Robert didn't answer. Then Varys spoke, his voice smooth and quiet. "Whether he wants the throne or not, others will want it for him. That's how wars begin." Petyr Baelish chuckled. "Chaos is a ladder, as they say, and this boy is standing near the top." Robert slammed his cup down. "He's staying. That's final. No harm will come to him." Cersei glared at Jon with pure hatred. "You just started a fire you can't control." That night, Jon was told not to leave his room. He didn't argue, but as he stared out the window, a small note was slipped under his door. He picked it up. It was written in a soft, careful hand. "You are not safe. She is already moving. Meet me in the black cells at midnight. V." Jon's hands trembled. "The black cells? Why?" He waited in silence until the castle was dark and still. Then he wrapped his cloak around him, took his sword, and slipped into the halls like a shadow. The Red Keep at night was colder than Winterfell. It was full of secrets, of locked doors and whispering walls. He made his way down into the belly of the castle, deeper than he had ever gone. Rats scurried past, torches flickered low. At the bottom of the stairs, in a stone hallway that smelled of damp and blood, Jon found the black cells. And there, in the dark, a door creaked open. Inside, someone waited. But it wasn't Varys. It was a face Jon had never seen before, but something about the silver hair and violet eyes made his heart stop. "You are not the only dragon in this city," the stranger said. The dim torchlight flickered across the face of the stranger. He was tall, maybe in his 30s, with silver blonde hair that shimmered even in the dark. His eyes were sharp and purple, the same eyes Jon had seen in old paintings of Targaryen kings. "Who are you?" Jon asked, hand near the hilt of his sword. The man stepped forward, calm and proud. "I am Viserys Targaryen, son of the Mad King, brother to Rhaegar, your uncle." Jon's throat went dry. He had heard of Viserys, a madman in exile, chased out of Westeros after Robert's rebellion. But what was he doing in the dungeons of the Red Keep? "You're supposed to be across the narrow sea," Jon said. Viserys gave a bitter smile. "I was. Until a few months ago, Lord Varys brought me back, in secret. Said the kingdom needed a true king again. Said I was that king." Jon stepped back. "Then why are you in chains?" Viserys laughed softly. "Because Varys is a spider, and spiders spin webs. He used me, whispered promises in my ear, and once I arrived, he locked me in here." He leaned closer, voice low and sharp. "But now, he has you." Jon didn't know what to say. His mind was spinning. "You don't belong here, nephew," Viserys said. "The Lannisters will kill you. Robert is too drunk to protect you, and your father, your real father, died because of them." "I don't want the throne," Jon said. Viserys's face twisted. "It doesn't matter what you want. The throne is your birthright. If you don't take it, someone else will, and they'll use your name to burn the realm down." He reached through the bars, eyes fierce. "We can take it together, you and I. The blood of the dragon flows in both of us." Jon stepped away, unsettled. "No," he said. "You're not the same as me. I've seen what power does to men like you. You want the crown. I just want the truth." Viserys's smile faded. "Then you'll die in this city, alone." Jon left without another word, but as he climbed back up the cold stone steps, his thoughts were heavy. Was Viserys right? Could he really survive in King's Landing now that the truth was out? Cersei already wanted him gone. Robert was fading, drinking more each day, coughing blood behind closed doors. If the king died, he didn't want to think about it. When he returned to his chambers, Ned Stark was waiting for him. "You went below the castle," Ned said, "to the black cells." Jon didn't deny it. "Viserys is alive," Jon said. "He says Varys brought him back." Ned's face darkened. "He's dangerous and mad, like his father." "Then why did Varys bring him here?" "Because Varys plays his own game," Ned said, "and now you're part of it." Jon sat down heavily. "Why didn't you tell me before?" "About Rhaegar. About my mother." Ned's voice cracked a little. "Because I loved her. Because I made a promise to her. And because the moment your name is spoken in the wrong room, your life is at risk." Jon looked up. "It already is." That evening, Queen Cersei called a private council. No Robert, no Ned, just her brother Jaime, and a few trusted Lannister guards. "This Targaryen bastard is a threat," she said coldly. "If Robert dies, the realm will rally behind him. We must move now." Jaime crossed his arms. "Killing a boy with Stark blood? That's risky." Cersei smiled. "He's not just a boy. He's a dragon. And if we wait, he'll burn us all. But what if he doesn't want the throne? Doesn't matter, she snapped. The people will want him, and the people are fools. That same night, a knife slipped through the shadows of the Red Keep. A hired killer, face hidden, footsteps soft as snow. He moved silently through the corridors until he reached Jon's room. But Ghost Jon's white direwolf was already waiting. The beast leaped from the shadows, tearing into the man's throat before he could scream. Blood sprayed across the stone floor as Jon jolted awake, grabbing his sword. The killer was dead, but the message was clear. They were trying to kill him. By morning, Jon stood in Ned's chambers, blood still on his boots. "I can't stay here," Jon said. Ned nodded. "Then we run." "Where?" "To Dragonstone, or across the narrow sea, somewhere the Lannisters can't reach you." Jon clenched his fists. "Or, I fight. I take the truth and show it to the realm." "You're not ready for war." Jon's eyes burned. "Then I better learn fast." Because the game had begun. And Jon Snow was no longer just a bastard. He was a dragon in a city of lions. The city was changing. Every corner of King's Landing now felt like a trap. Jon could feel it in the way the guards watched him, in the whispers behind his back, in how even the servants stepped away when he walked past. The attack in his chamber wasn't the last. 2 nights later, someone poisoned his wine cup. Ghost growled before Jon could sip. He poured the wine out, and the rats that drank it died within minutes. That night, Jon didn't sleep. He just sat with his sword in hand, listening to every creak in the walls. Cersei was hunting him now, not openly, but smartly, quietly, like a viper in silk. And Robert? He was growing weaker by the day. He coughed blood now. His hand trembled when he lifted a cup. He barely noticed what was happening around him. Or maybe he just didn't care anymore. Ned was growing restless too. "This place is poison," he told Jon, "and Robert won't last the month." They were in Ned's solar, speaking in low voices. "Then we should leave," Jon said. "Too late," Ned replied. "If we move now, the Lannisters will know, and they'll block every road out." Jon paced the room. "Then we fight. If they want to kill me, let them try." "You don't understand, Jon. This isn't the North. This is King's Landing. Here, a knife in the dark is more dangerous than a sword in the light." Jon stopped and faced him. "Then give me something to fight with, something more than just steel." Ned studied him for a long time. Then he opened a chest beside the hearth and pulled out a scroll. "This was hidden in the crypts beneath Winterfell," Ned said. "Lyanna wrote it before she died. It names you as Rhaegar's true-born son." Jon slowly took the scroll in his hands. The parchment was old, but the ink was clear. "My name," Jon whispered, "was never Snow. No, it was Aegon, Prince of the 7 Kingdoms." Jon looked up. Then maybe it's time the realm remembered. But before they could plan further, a knock came at the door. It was Sir Barristan Selmy, face pale. "The king is dying," he said quietly. They rushed to Robert's chamber. The room smelled of wine and blood. Robert lay in his bed, pale as snow, sweat pouring from his skin. Cersei stood at the foot of the bed, her face unreadable. Joffrey was beside her, trying to look strong but shaking like a child. Robert opened his eyes when Jon and Ned entered. "You," he whispered. "Both of you." Ned knelt beside him. "We're here." Robert grabbed Jon's wrist with surprising strength. "You have her eyes." "Whose?" "Lyanna's," he murmured. "She begged me. Protect him. I failed her once. Don't let me fail again." And with that, King Robert Baratheon died. Cersei moved fast. Before the bells could finish tolling, she had locked down the Red Keep. Her guards took over the gates. Letters were burned, doors sealed. She named Joffrey king before Robert's body even turned cold. Jon and Ned were trapped. "You have to leave now," Ned said. "Take a ship, go to Dragonstone, or across the narrow sea." "And you?" "I'll stay. I'll face her. I'll delay her. But you must live." Jon didn't want to go, but he saw the fire in Ned's eyes, the fire of a man making his final stand. So that night, dressed in a cloak too large for him, Jon slipped through the tunnels under the Red Keep with only Ghost at his side. But someone was waiting at the end. Petyr Baelish. "Leaving so soon?" He smiled, like a snake offering wine. Jon drew his sword. "Move." Baelish didn't flinch. "I could call the guards right now. End this story before it begins. Then do it." But Baelish only chuckled. "I won't, because I think the story gets more interesting with you alive." He handed Jon a satchel. "Gold, a ship, and a name. Go east. Find the Dragon Queen. Tell her who you are." "Why help me?" "Because chaos is a ladder," Baelish said. "And you, dear boy, are a very high step." Jon took the satchel, and with one last look at the city that tried to kill him, he vanished into the night. Behind him, the bells of Robert's death still rang. Ahead of him, across the sea, was a woman with dragons. And a war waiting to be born. The sea was wild when Jon arrived in Essos. His ship, a small and battered thing, had limped into Meereen's harbour after 2 weeks of storms and sickness. The captain had warned him to turn back. "That city's ruled by a dragon," the man had muttered, "and her flames don't burn for strangers." But Jon Snow knew. Aegon Targaryen was no stranger to fire anymore. He stepped off the ship with nothing but his sword, the gold from Baelish, and the letter from Ned tucked under his coat. Ghost padded beside him, silent as a shadow, drawing wary stares from the locals. Direwolves were creatures of the north. This city had never seen one before. He found the guards quickly unsullied, standing like statues in bronze armor, spears pointed skyward. "I need to speak with the Queen," Jon said. They didn't move, didn't speak. "She's my family," he added. That made them blink. 2 hours later, he was kneeling before Daenerys Targaryen in the Great Pyramid. She sat on a carved throne, wearing silver and black, with eyes that studied him like a hawk sizing up a mouse. She was beautiful but not soft. Fire lived behind her calm face, a storm waiting to rise. "Targaryen blood, you say?" she asked. "I am Aegon," Jon said, "son of Rhaegar, born in Dorne, hidden by my uncle Ned Stark." At her side, Tyrion Lannister raised an eyebrow. "Hidden? That's quite a tale." Jon tossed the scroll onto the marble floor. "Read it." Daenerys picked it up herself. Her eyes moved slowly over the words. The silence stretched so long that even Ghost began to growl. When she finally looked up, her voice was cold. "If this is true, then you are not just family. You are my nephew." Jon nodded slowly. "I didn't come to take anything from you. I came to find the truth, and maybe warn you." "Warn me?" "Cersei tried to kill me. Twice. She knows I'm alive. She'll know you're next. And the war isn't coming, it's already started." Daenerys leaned back, expression unreadable. Tyrion stepped forward. "We've heard rumors. Ravens stopped coming from the capital. No word from Ned Stark. You escaped just before the storm." Jon met his eyes. "Ned stayed behind. To buy me time. I don't know if he's alive." A quiet settled over the room. Then Daenerys spoke. "You expect me to believe that the son of my brother, the heir to the throne, has appeared out of nowhere with a wolf and a scroll." "I expect you to believe nothing," Jon said. "Only that I didn't come to take your throne." "But you could," she said flatly. "Your claim is stronger than mine." Jon's voice was steady. I didn't ask for that, and I don't want it. Tyrion chuckled darkly. That makes you even more dangerous. Daenerys stood slowly, her voice sharper now. There are only two types of people who claim not to want power, those who lie and those who burn. Behind her, a deep growl echoed through the halls. Jon turned and saw it. Drogon, her black dragon, slithering out of the shadows, eyes glowing like embers. Its teeth were swords, its wings scraped stone. Ghost growled back, low and protective. But Jon didn't flinch. He stepped forward, slowly, until Drogon's snout was inches from his chest. The beast huffed smoke, eyes locked on him. And then it lowered its head. Daenerys' eyes widened. Tyrion's mouth opened. The Unsullied stepped back. Drogon bowed. "I'm not your enemy," Jon said softly. Daenerys stared at him as if seeing him for the first time, not as a stranger, not as a bastard, but as blood of the dragon. That night, she summoned him again, alone. They stood on the balcony of the pyramid, overlooking the dark city. "I believed I was the last," Daenerys said. "The last of our house, the last to carry the fire." "You're not," Jon said, "and you don't have to fight alone." She turned to him, her face more open now, but still unsure. "If what you say is true, and you are my kin, then maybe we are stronger together." Jon nodded. "But make no mistake, Your Grace. Cersei will come for both of us. She's already preparing. Her armies, her assassins. She won't stop." Daenerys' voice hardened. "Then we'll stop her first." But deep in her eyes, a new thought flickered, a shadow of doubt, because the moment Jon arrived, the world changed. And somewhere, buried in that thought, was a quiet question neither of them wanted to ask yet. What happens if the realm chooses him instead of her? The days passed quickly in Meereen, but Jon never felt at ease. He trained with the Unsullied, ate in silence, slept with one eye open. Even with Daenerys allowing him into her council, he was a stranger in her court, a northern wolf among southern dragons. At first the people called him the Prince from the North. Then they started whispering a more dangerous name, the True King. He hated it, but he couldn't stop it. Everywhere he went, people bowed lower, spoke softer, looked at him not with curiosity, but with hope. Daenerys noticed it too. One evening they sat together at the top of the Great Pyramid, looking out over the flickering torches of the city. "You've made quite the impression," she said quietly. Jon glanced at her. "I didn't mean to." "That's the problem," she replied. "You didn't have to." There was silence between them for a while. The breeze tugged at her silver hair. Ghost sat beside Jon, staring at the stars. Somewhere far below, Drogon roared. "You're afraid I'll take something from you," Jon said at last. Daenerys didn't deny it. "I crossed a sea, freed thousands, bled for every inch of power I hold, and yet, the moment you arrive, people look at you like you were born to lead them. I don't want the throne, but they might want you on it," she whispered. Jon turned to her, eyes calm but firm. "Then make them want you more." She looked at him with something between respect and warning. "Be careful, Jon. This city may love you today, but power always changes the game." Later that night, Jon sat alone in his chamber. His thoughts wouldn't rest. He kept hearing Ned's voice, Robert's last breath, Cersei's threats, and most of all, Daenerys' words. And then Varys entered. "The realm has begun to speak," Varys said without greeting. Jon didn't rise. "What now?" "Ravens have flown from the narrow sea. Cersei has taken the throne fully. Joffrey's death was hidden poison, they say. Now she wears the crown, unchallenged." Jon stood. Then, it's begun. There's more, Varys said. She's offering pardons to lords who swear to her, and death to those who don't. And the North? Divided. Some still call you their prince, others are too afraid. Jon's jaw clenched. What do you want, Varys? Varys stepped closer, lowering his voice. To serve the realm, and the realm needs you, Jon. I'm not a king. No, but you're what the people want a king to be. You were raised in honor. You don't crave power. You don't lie. That makes you rare and dangerous. I'm loyal to Daenerys. For now, Varys said calmly. But loyalty has limits. So does love. That word love struck something in Jon. Because, yes, something had begun to grow between him and Daenerys. Quiet moments, shared looks, but was it love? Or just the weight of shared blood? He didn't know. But across the narrow sea, Cersei knew exactly what she felt, and it was rage. She stood in the Red Keep, looking over a map of Westeros, covered in black stones. They're coming, she said. The wolf and the dragon. Qyburn, her twisted advisor, nodded. But we have a gift. From the shadows, 2 guards dragged someone in chains. It was Viserys Targaryen, wild-eyed, filthy, furious. You bastards, he spat. I am the rightful king. Cersei smiled coldly. Your bait. She leaned in close. Let's see what your dear niece does when she finds her beloved uncle in a cage. Then she whispered, and what her precious prince does when he's offered the crown without her. Back in Meereen, the tension was breaking. Jon and Daenerys stood in the war room with Tyrion and Missandei. We strike soon, Daenerys said. Dragonstone first, then King's Landing. Jon nodded. We need the North. I'll go back, speak to them. Daenerys looked at him. Will they follow you? I don't know. Tyrion cut in. And what if they follow you instead? No one answered. Finally, Daenerys stepped closer. If you return to Westeros, Jon, you'll be seen not just as a prince, you'll be seen as a rival. I don't want your throne, he said again. She reached out, took his hand. Then prove it. Bend the knee, publicly. Jon froze. The room felt colder suddenly. I'll fight beside you, he said. I'll die beside you if I must. But I won't bend a knee like a servant. Not when my family has already bled for this realm. Daenerys pulled her hand away. You're either with me, Jon Snow, she said softly, or you're in my way. And just like that, the air between them turned to ash. Jon rode through the gates of Winterfell, and for the first time in months he felt the bite of northern air on his skin again. But it wasn't home anymore. The walls felt colder, the people quieter. Some bowed as he passed, others only stared. Even Sansa, waiting in the courtyard, didn't smile. You shouldn't have come back, she said. Jon dismounted slowly. It's still my home. Not anymore. Not to them. She looked around. You're not Jon Snow anymore. You're a Targaryen. That name doesn't mean safety here. It means fire. Inside, around the long table of the great hall, the northern lords gathered. Some had once called him their prince. Now, they watched him with guarded eyes. She's bringing dragons, Lord Glover said bitterly. What kind of queen burns cities to save them? She freed slaves, Jon said. She's not like her father. Sansa stepped forward. But she's not like you either. The silence after that stung more than words. Jon didn't argue. He only said, war is coming whether we like it or not, and I would rather face it with her than alone. But by nightfall, only a few houses agreed to stand with him. The North had not forgiven fire. Across the sea, Daenerys stood at the bow of her ship, watching the coast of Westeros draw near. Her dragons soared above, casting massive shadows over the water. But her heart was heavy. Since Jon left, he hadn't written once, no word, no raven. Tyrion stood beside her, arms crossed. "He's not coming back, is he?" Daenerys didn't answer. "You loved him," Tyrion said softly. "Still do." "Love is not a weakness," she whispered. "No," he said, "but expecting loyalty from someone with a stronger claim than yours, that is." Her jaw clenched. "Then I'll remind them who has the power." The sails of her fleet stretched across the horizon, Targaryen, red and black, and behind her, Drogon, her last and fiercest dragon, let out a low growl. She was not coming as a queen. She was coming as a conqueror. In King's Landing, Cersei Lannister smiled as her trap neared completion. She stood before Viserys, chained and broken, in a cell beneath the Red Keep. "I'll give you one chance," she said, circling him like a lion. "Tell the realm you're the true king. That Daenerys is mad. That Jon Snow is a pretender. I'll put a crown on your head, and we'll watch them destroy each other." Viserys, bloodied and weak, still smirked. "You're afraid of her, afraid of him." Cersei leaned in. "I'm afraid of no one, but fear is a useful thing to spread." When Jon arrived at Dragonstone, the sky was black with storm clouds. Daenerys was waiting on the cliffs. She didn't speak at first, just stared at him. "You didn't bend the knee," she said. "I didn't run either," Jon replied. "You came back alone." "No one's coming to save us," he said. "The North won't kneel, but they'll fight the Lannisters. And you." Jon took a step forward. "I came back to fight with you, but not for a throne, not for a crown. I came back to stop the war before it burns everything." Daenerys' voice trembled. "And if I can't stop it? Then we end it ourselves." That night, they stood side by side on the war map. Tyrion laid out the final plan, a three-pronged attack on the capital. But as the pieces moved, a raven arrived. Its seal was golden. Lannister. Jon opened the letter. He read the words slowly, then again, then looked up, pale. "They have Viserys," he said. "They want to trade him for me." Everyone in the room went silent. Daenerys shook her head. "It's a trap." "I know," Jon said. "Then you're not going." "I have to." "You're walking into death." He looked at her. "Better me than thousands." Tyrion slammed his cup down. "You think she'll honor any deal? Cersei doesn't want peace. She wants chaos. I won't give it to her." Jon turned to Daenerys one last time. "If I die, promise me you won't burn the city." She looked at him, eyes dark with fire. "I can't promise that." They met at the ruins of old Valyria, under storm clouds and ash. Cersei waited with guards. Viserys was chained beside her, barely conscious. Jon rode alone. They spoke little. Only one deal. Jon would surrender his claim, say publicly that Daenerys was mad. In return, Viserys would live. Jon agreed. But before he could speak, Viserys spat blood and laughed. "She'll never forgive you," he said, "not for choosing her over yourself." And then a crossbow bolt struck him through the heart. Jon turned, shocked. Cersei just smiled. He outlived his use. The guards turned to Jon. But from the skies above, Drogon roared. Flames fell. Steel melted. Cersei screamed. And war came. Later, in the ashes of King's Landing, Jon stood before the Iron Throne. Daenerys stood beside him, armor black with soot, Drogon behind her like death itself. They had won. But at what cost? She turned to Jon. "The throne is yours if you want it." Jon looked down at it, then at her, and he said, "No." He walked away, back into the shadows, leaving fire behind. And so, the dragon chose peace. But peace had a price. The realm would never forget the prince who turned away from power, and the queen who nearly burned the world for it. Yet somewhere beyond the wall, far from thrones and crowns, a wolf still walked. And the game of thrones was over.